Last time on Blurred Summon's SoD journey, we began delving into endgame dungeons like Blackrock Depths and Scholomance, dinging level 60, meaning we can begin our gear grind, getting ready for the Scarlet Enclave raid. We begin by trying out a new dungeon for Season of Discovery, the Demonfall Canyon, which I have never been in. In the last episode, we actually completed the one quest attunement needed for the dungeon, though I realised later I had already done it on my rogue and I could have just bought it for 7 gold. The first boss here is Grimroot, a big old corrupted tree guy. He spawns an ad, drops poison puddles, and has a big cast you need to interrupt. We actually wipe, I think due to people standing in poison, but we go again and it's much smoother, dropping a trinket which isn't great, but is an upgrade for me, which nobody else needs, so I guess it's mine. The next boss, this big old Felguard guy, basically has 2 mechanics. Cleaves you need to dodge, and a big Nova you need to run from, dropping a pair of gloves that would be decent for me if I was Affliction, with its increase to shadow spells, but being a Destruction Warlock, most of my damage is fire, so I decide to greed and still win them, so I guess I have them just in case. Heading back the way we came, we run into this Goblin Shredder. I don't even know why he's here, but he goes down really easy, dropping a tanking necklace. Shortly after, we fight this Pit Lord who does a big frontal on the tank, a rain of fire, and waves of dark energy you need to dodge. Asgaloth here drops an intellect ring which would be a massive upgrade for us, still using the one from Incursions, but it's clearly intended towards healers. So I ask if the healer minds if I need, but they just say they really need it, so I decide to pass it. I'm sure we'll get another ring soon. We descend into the Barrows to find Perennis, a corrupted night elf druid, who puts you into this foggy dream state, where you have to get rid of these flowers to come back. He drops a trinket that looks really good for PvP, especially against warlocks, but I'm not super interested in it. Venturing even deeper, we find Deothoris, the Seeker, who casts hard-hitting shadow bolts, puts the group to sleep periodically, and puts fire on the ground. They drop an agility sword and the Eye of Shadow, which is used by priests to craft an epic staff. Initially quite excited by this, we quickly learn it's actually got a decently high drop chance and is not as rare as usual classic. Otherwise, we come back out and begin our battle with Hellscream's Phantom, who does abilities akin to his Warcraft 3 hero, like a Blade Storm and living images of himself. He drops his axe, which is pretty cool. Makes me want to play a warrior. It's what I usually play in World of Warcraft. After our dungeon adventure, we head into a group for Molten Core, a raid that can give us massive upgrades to gear as well as a large amount of reels. After doing a lot of summoning, such as the life of a warlock, we begin our first raid and Season of Discovery. Now, normally I would do a very brief detailing of what some bosses do, but Molten Core these days goes by so fast with the amount of neck-scared people doing them for reals. The first boss, Gehenna's, goes down in 43 seconds. So I will just go over loot boss by boss. This one dropping nothing for us. Lucifron actually drops 3 potential items and we win a pair of gloves, because nobody else needed the second pair. Magmadar drops an amazing caster trinket, giving a huge amount of spell power on use, but we don't win it unfortunately. Both Gar and Baron Geddon drop naught for us. Shazra drops some tier braces, which we do actually win. On the way to the next boss, we actually fall to trash, which sucks because we lose world buffs, but to be honest, we weren't anywhere near competing for damage anyway. Sulfuran Harbinger had nothing for us. On pulling Golomag, somebody ninja pulls some mobs behind, which kills quite a few people, including almost me. The boss goes down though and drops an offhand, which I'm not actually sure if it's better than my current one, but also a tier chest piece, which is certainly an upgrade over my level 41. We win neither. We then take down Major Domo, and by the way guys, wait for the raid leader to loot chests first, otherwise it takes forever. The boss does drop some boots, which the raid lead almost accidentally gives to us, but corrects himself. I did lose the roll. As we prepare ourselves for the arrival of Ragnaros, a boss which I have never done in Classic, my internet drops out. And I missed the entire boss fight. Man, that feels bad. But at least we're back before Ragnaros' loot is rolled out, which for us could be a pair of shoulders, which we don't win. Unfortunate. Now, I also do want to point out, most of these rolls that I lost in the various items were to this one other warlock. Just us two rolling, who was wearing almost a full set of Scarlet Enclave crafted gear, which is way better than what I'm currently wearing, and I believe way better than Molten Core gear, so I'm not even sure why he's rolling on all this. It feels kind of bad, but you know what? We got something from this raid. The next raid for Blurred Summons is the Nightmare Dragons, which serve as an amazing way to gear up fresh level 60s, having loot from Blackwing Lair and even Encourage. Emeris, the first dragon, I'm basically asleep the whole fight for. Else I have all my cooldowns massively increased, so that wasn't super fun. But the boss does drop some tier leggings from Blackwing Lair for us, which we win by tying with this priest. I'm not sure why it was given to me, and I'd re-roll with him, but before we can, the next boss is pulled. Lethon, who sends out Shadowbolt volleys and the same sleep clouds. On defeating this dragon, another pair of pants drop for the priest, so it looks like it worked out. We also win this cloak, which is a crazy upgrade over our level like 15 one, as well as this trinket, which is an on-use that massively increases our pet's damage for a short duration. The next boss, Terreur, does a mass fear and summons a big ad to take down. We don't get anything from this one though. The final of the 4 dragons is Ysondra, who summons lots of little ads to cleave down. From this one we get the Nightmare Engulfed object, which I believe you can turn into someone for a nature resistant win, which is useful for AQ, but that's about it. As well as losing a roll to upgrade our very outdated robe once again. But overall we got some really good loot, so I'm happy. Shortly after, I get a group going for Upper Blackrock Spire. Just before we do it though, I take down this Blackrock Quartermaster, which begins us the Blackwing Lair attunement process, which the only next step is to complete Upper Blackrock Spire, so nice and easy. It takes us a little bit to form, but my guild leader, the same one from Gnomeregan, comes down to open the door and provides us DPS as well. Massive thank you once again. The first boss goes down in literally like 10 seconds, but has nothing for us. We also have the rare spawn Jed Runewatcher, which can drop a really good caster trinket, but unfortunately he doesn't. We're then on to the Stadium event, which is really boring and takes forever. After about 10 minutes of basically doing nothing, Rend finally comes down, but gives us no loot. The next boss is the Beast. A massive beast, dropping again nothing for us, but the dagger at least for any skinners that need it. The final boss, General Dracosath, goes down easy and drops this necklace, which while definitely aimed towards healers, is an upgrade for me, and nobody else needs it, so I guess I'll take it. By clicking on this orb, we also attune to Blackwing Lair, so we're ready to take that on at some point. A couple of our members leave as we decide to blitz through Lower Blackrock Spire for some easy reels. From the run, we get some nice boots from Warmaster Voon and this quest item from the last boss, which we can later turn in for a quick quest to go back to Upper Blackrock Spire, defeat Dracosath again, and get a decent trinket, though I'm not sure if we'll use it over our current ones if I'm honest. After all that, we team up with this hunter to finish up the first part of the Onyxia attunement quest, so we can be ready to finish at a later date. Some days later, I wanted to show off this very odd Scholarmance run. Look at our tank's gear. Healer is in for a rough time, and yeah, as you can imagine, very often the tank pulls a pack and just falls over. If they do manage to live, they can't really hold threat. This isn't working, so the other Warlock offers to tank instead, and from there it goes reasonably smoother, though they also still struggle with threat. From the run, we do get a pair of shoulders, which I believe are a very slight upgrade, so we'll take that. Not really what we're after, as I'm still using some very outdated gear, but progress is progress. Speaking of progress, a few days later, I learn of these invasion farms. Massive ziggurats floating in the sky are sending down forces of undead and cultists across Azeroth. In the Eastern Plague Lands, you can form large groups to take down these waves of enemies, which grant a huge amount of reputation with the Argent Dawn, something needed for Naxxramas and Scarlet Enclave activities. You also obtain these necrotic runes, which can be turned in for a pair of gloves, which we'll talk about in a moment, and these dark hearts, which can be turned in for large amounts of this currency called Remnants of Valor. Remnants of Valor are used to amplify the effects of sanctified gear. This gear is very useful in Naxxramas, as it provides a very large buff while inside the raid, increasing damage, healing, or health depending on your role. So, getting reputation high and remnants just over 3000 is quite important in our steps to go into Naxxramas. Though after a while of farming, I decided to take a break and try another Molten Core. In this run, I'm not kidding, we don't get a single piece. Some do drop, that would be great for us, but we don't get a single piece. And our rolls are so bad. At least we get to see the Ragnaros fight. That's cool. Now, this is extremely unfortunate, but I lost about 3 hours of footage because the video file got corrupted. It's my fault. I didn't turn off OBS before turning off my computer. So instead, I hope you enjoy this short segment of what I accomplished in that time. I joined my first ever Zil Grub Run, and in this instance, they were going from Hakar. They were doing all the bosses that drop these idols, and an additional one. These idols are used for strong enchants, so ZG is run a lot, even by very geared players. From the run, I receive an idol for a future enchant, which somebody does try to buy off me, but I decline. A nice upgrade to my boots, and a huge upgrade to my robe, finally replacing the level 40 Gnomeregun one. I also use 150 tarnished undermined reels to purchase the Scythe of Depleted Chaos, a soon-to-be very powerful warlock weapon, but we need to do some things first. We talk to this warlock in the Barrens and he sends us to collect various demon souls in the Eastern Plague Lands, each having a different challenge associated with them. Once obtaining those, we are tasked to go into Demonfall Canyon and solo this elite demon. Upon completing that, we are awarded with the Scythe of Chaos, a massive upgrade over our Black Fathom Depths dagger. This is a very cool quest line and I hate that I can't properly showcase it, but I guess you could look at it as me encouraging you to try it for yourself. Coming back to the footage I do have though, I did start my attunement tent to Karazhan Crypts, with the most lengthy part of the quest chain being this. We had to collect 3 different items to construct a magical torch to ward off evil within the crypts. A flame from Dragonkin by Gribertal, a branch from this ancient in Demonfall Canyon, which by the way we get a massive upgrade from doing the dungeon, and finally a wisp from the very end of Dark Whisper Gorge in Winterspring. Using this enchanted torch, we banish the darkness surrounding the crypt, allowing us at least somewhat safe passage into the crypt. After a short break, I find myself in a Karazhan Crypts group, and before we begin, I have to say, this may be one of the best dungeons Blizzard has made in years. Throughout the dungeon you have to follow the tank who is holding the enchanted torch. You take damage and can't see otherwise. All the rooms look amazing and the glowing effects in the dark, giving off this creepy and mystical vibe are awesome. The first boss we encounter in here is Kagi, who's often sought after by melee for the neck he can drop, but he actually drops us this really good wand, which I'm told is best in slot for warlocks, so yay me. After that is this neat little opera event, which tells a tale of 3 little pigs, but in reverse. This boss drops for us this really good offhand, which is actually the second piece of a 2-set with the wand we just got. That's pretty dang lucky. Might have to spec into Affliction if I get a good main hand. We venture through the pool of upside down sinners and come across the Harbinger of Sin, a massive skeletal construct. It drops big meteors you have to dodge and does a massive pull-in and then a huge AoE you have to run from. The loot is all reliable, a big old shovel. Neat. Delving deeper we find this massive spider, Creeper Malison, who spawns a bunch of ads, but I think you can use the torch to burn them away, I'm not 100%. It drops the Clobber Club, even the loot in here is themed well. We then find this room with acolytes and after clearing them it spawns the next boss, Kairon. He does a fear, forcing people out into the darkness and randomly roots somebody so you have to find them before they succumb to the evils that are lurking out in the dark. He also casts a one-shot AoE you need to move out from. He drops 3 items, but nothing for us. But I won't complain, I already got 2 amazing pieces. We then venture back a bit and come across this demon, who you're meant to repeatedly stun and interrupt. They're not actually listed in the Atlas loot, and doesn't drop anything remarkable, so maybe a sort of mini-boss? But then we're on to the real final boss, the Dark Rider. Phantoms of charges periodically run through the room you need to dodge, and a line of them will spawn throughout the fight, and you need to use the torch to find a gap. Vanquishing the Dark Rider, it drops some leather braces, and I once again have to say, I think this might be one of the coolest dungeons WoW has. That day, I finish up by completing my grind to be geared enough for Naxxramas, obtaining my revered reputation so it's much cheaper to attune, collecting remnants to upgrade my seal which massively increases damage while wearing sanctified gear in Naxxramas, and buying some scarlet gear to fill in gaps so I am equipped with 8 sanctified pieces. Turns out being a warlock does have its benefits when it comes to gold making. Blood Summons is ready and excited for Naxxramas and beyond.